Number 10. Senor Alan Wake. Um, this was a remaster I didn't think anyone wanted slash needed. But in the end, I thought it was a good experience. It delivered on the spookiness, and the characters were really interesting. Each of the individual characters really brought a lot to the table and made the story much more interesting. The gameplay segments were fun. There were a lot of good set pieces. I feel like is the word I'm looking for here. Learning the mechanic was fun, and then there was some big kind of set pieces with bulldozers or something like that that were really fun to be a part of. So those were the positives. The negatives, I'm editing a YouTube video, the like Alan Wake in 35 minutes or whatever, and this story is still so fucking confusing. It's a little hard to string together, pretty confusing, and at the end it ends really ambiguously. So it's like I didn't love the conclusion of the story wasn't my favorite, and it was kind of hard to keep up with. I must admit. Um, Maybe I'm just a dumbass. I won't deny that, but that and I would say the enemies were pretty repetitive. The whole system of like shine flashlight shoot guy did get a little old after a while. There were some cool elements to it, but then they got old once you they got old pretty quickly, and so I really cool at first, but then it kind of got to wear over time. So number 9. Halo Wars 2. Whew. Look, took me a little longer than I wish it did for me to pull that up, but Halo Wars 2 is our number 9 game of 2022. Um, I'm not a huge graphics guy, but holy shit. Uh, this game looked beautiful. The cutscenes look like a damn movie, and you can really zoom in on the characters and see a lot of good definition. So that was actually really cool to see. The addition of the brutes in this made it kind of really differentiated it from Halo Wars 1, and so you had a kind of not just another general or not, one other player to play as, but you added this whole other factor or faction to play against. Um, the story, I liked that it was actually relevant in the Halo timeline. Um, this takes place between after Halo 5, before Halo Infinite, and actually like kind of carries the story between them. An interesting move, probably people, them trying to get people to buy Halo Wars 2, but I thought it was really cool that it was an actual meaningful story about Atriox and his gang that you wouldn't have had if you didn't play Halo Wars 2. Um, I'd have to ask Hershey. I'm not sure. Does Halo Infinite make sense if you don't play Halo Wars 2? I feel like it doesn't. I feel like the whole like Atriox thing that they really explained in Halo Wars, like I don't know that they explained that anywhere else. The less enjoyable parts, there were a lot of like explore missions. Like it wasn't, we're playing. I don't know. They tried to get creative, I think, with the mission types, but in RTS you can only do so much. So it's like either like here's your base and like defend it and attack the other base, or like go explore missions. And I felt like there were a lot of explore ones, and that kind of got old after a while, I admit. So I think it's I think it got a little. They tried to mix it up, but it felt repetitive, and maybe because I just played Halo Wars 1, it kind of worked against me. But I feel like the missions got a little repetitive. But RTS is sort of like that, so I feel bad kind of holding it against them. But I think I was the story was kind of the only thing keeping me going after a while there. Number 8. Metro Last Light. Talk about a throwback. We did actually play this game this year. Hard to believe. But this is kind of the January piece. Last Light was good. So we played the three Metro games. Actually, 2033 appeared on last year's, but Last Light and Exodus are available for this year. Last Light, I really liked the kind of clan interaction piece between let's see, there was the Nazis, there was I almost said the Germans, the Nazis, the communists, and There was kind of this like bandit raider tribe that I thought was cool. That like kind of politics between them, which was a lot of fun, and it focused a lot on kind of the alien lore and building out the alien story. I thought that was a really cool element of like the real world clan stuff and then the alien mystery. Spent a lot of time working through that. And then the last like 2 to 3 missions, because of both of those kind of coming to a head at the same time, the last like 2 missions I thought were awesome. Kind of finishing, you've got real world problems and you've got like extraterrestrial problems that both kind of come to a head at the same time, inconveniently for your character, which is really cool. Last couple missions. What I didn't love about it is that the gameplay slash mechanics are pretty similar to 2033. It didn't have like a huge revamp there. Your choice at the end of 2033 didn't matter at all. It like assumed that you picked nuke the city and kill almost all the aliens, which that is what happened in my playthrough, so it didn't affect me. But I don't like a sequel that assumes you made a certain choice in a game that gives you 2 choices. That I think that's and I know like 90-ish% of people probably picked the one that they went with. If they had to pick one, that was the right one, but I don't think they should have picked it. I think they should have made something that was either independent of it or somehow you got to enter in what you picked. And then, similar to 2033, it's like impossible to get the good ending in this game. And then you're like, GP, you're just being a salty bitch. Like, it's not that hard. Like, you have to hit, I forget how many like karma points you have to get. You have to find so much stuff and make so many good decisions. And if you screw it up like one time, you're like, you're stuck with. I guess I don't want to say the bad ending, but it's really hard to get the good ending. And as a guy who always likes to try to like be the good guy in the story, that was a little rough. So, good guy ending also hard to get. Number 7. HalfLife 2, Episode 2. I thought the story was good. I thought that it was much more. It was kind of divergent instead of convergent that Episode 1 was. So I thought that they really started to open the world up a little bit. You get to know the characters a little bit better, and I thought there was like a lot of stuff happened in the story. Like they introduced these new concepts, and I thought that some of the mystery was starting to unravel a little bit. They were nicely kind of like slowly giving you more information, particularly at the end of the game where it's like, oh shit, really? Regarding some of the portals and other world. The characters are a plus. You get to actually, I feel like you got to know Alex in the last game, but you get to know some of the scientists in this one, which was a lot of fun. You get to kind of see their side of things. And I thought getting to know them was really you get like a core group, right? Instead of just like a one-man show, you get a core group. And I thought the enemy evolution was really cool. Lots of or maybe not lots, but a handful of new enemies that I thought were really changed the game a little bit and were really fun to fight. I liked the idea of where the cliffhanger was. You're about to go do this big bad mission. You have the spoiler alert death at the end. And I think it would, if there was an episode 3 or a Half-Life 3, it would have a really cool spot to pick up from. The cliffhanger is one of the negative things. Why? Because they never continued the mission or the game. So the fact that they left it where it is brutal. It like physically painful. That like they're basically just like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, and then they're like, well, we'll never find out how that resolves. And so that part's really painful. Like it's a really cool build, and they leave it. If they temporarily left it there, it would be great, but they didn't, and so I gotta dock them some points for having this series end on such a weird note here. The gameplay was similar to Half-Life 1 or Half-Life 2 Episode 1. Not much evolution there, but it's supposed to be a continuous story, so I get it, but very similar in that regard. And then, as with the Half-Life games, it did show its age. I think that's kind of to be expected, but there were some times where it didn't look amazing. just because it's an older game. So number 6, Resident Evil Village. One is the resources were rare, but it still felt action forward. So they gave you like just enough resources that it was you had to. I felt like I really had to search and scrounge for all of them, but you still got to use them a lot and shoot them. Like there wasn't just like it wasn't like click click. Oh shit, I'm out of ammo. I got to go run and find some. It's like by being thorough, I was able to have like just enough ammo. And so the balance was like close to teetering out of it, but I thought they did a really nice job with it. Lady D, need I say more? She goes into plus camp. And the characters slash mutations were really interesting. That whole kind of the story element was it was an interesting idea of the people that reacted to this mutation differently. And kind of grow into the characters, I guess. And they were creative. I got to give them their due. So each of the main or each of the differences in mutations, I think, was a cool concept. What I didn't love is I thought that some areas were like vastly superior to others. There's like Lady D and the castle that she's in is like here, and then like fish in Slimeville is like a significant step down. The spooky baby place is great. Heisenberg's factory is mad best. The village, name of the game, is fine. I don't know. I thought it was kind of whiplash from like, oh, this is amazing. Like, oh, this is fine. I guess like it was just. I guess I can't. I thought some of the areas were a little weak. Um, the whole like immortal main character and baby because of the mold, not a fan. The fact that the game revolves around your baby being chopped into pieces and you having to put the pieces together to do this ritual, like, and I don't need it to be like realistic, I get it, but it feels like it started with like, oh, there's like a mutation that like makes you bigger and kind of a zombie, and now it's like my baby can be chopped into 4 pieces and I can get my hand cut off and just pour water on it and it's fine. um just gotta stick it back on there. I feel like it ruins some of the like fear and scariness of it because it's um like even your guy in the game's immoral. So even when something bad happens to you in a cutscene, it only gets you like the first time. Like I think this one it's when Lady D slices your hand off, and then you're like, oh, I just survive anything. So it like ruins all the tension because you're gonna be invincible basically. Um, and I guess speaking of the ruining of the scare factor, it's that plus like, except for the baby area, the game actually wasn't like it was definitely action tilted. It wasn't very scary. Which I was looking for something a little spookier, I think. And the baby area definitely delivered. But the after a while, it's action oriented and your character's invincible, so I feel like it really the scare starts to wear off. So, not as spooky as I think I wanted it to be going into it. So, that's number 6, Resident Evil Village. Number 5, Metro Exodus. So, Metro Exodus, I really like that they took this open world, or mini open world, sort of open world. I thought there was a really fresh take on the series. And the fact that you're not spending all of your time in the subway, I get it's kind of weird in the with the Metro title, but I thought overall it was a really cool spin on the series, and that for a third game where you're trying to probably look into innovate and do something new, I thought they did a really nice job of it. Your decisions have a huge impact basically at the end of every area. You have a really big decision to make, or hopefully up to that point you've gathered enough things and you've gathered the resources you need to make a big decision, and then at the end of the game the sum of those decisions has a really big impact on spoilers whether you survive or not. So I think that was a really cool concept, and it was much more manageable to get the good guy ending here, even though I still screwed it up. The gameplay was really good. I thought the kind of roaming creatures and some side missions with the main missions in the open world worked together really, really well. And the characters, of course, there's some old favorites, but some new faces that you can hang out a ton on the train and listen to all their stories. There's a ton of backstory. I didn't even listen to it all, but I thought it was really, really well done, building them up. What I didn't love is I thought the story was a little weak, in and of itself. Kind of the full arc of the story between, like, I don't know, just you were just like on the run, I guess, and then random shit kept happening, and you had to deal with the random shit, and like you weren't like really on your way to do anything. You were basically just running. So I felt like I was missing like the big overarching goal, and it becomes to save your wife, but like it's only because you were on the run, just like and shit imploded at some point. So I don't. They kind of took the concept of like, wait, they're like basically they dropped this bomb that like, holy shit, other places are out there. We're not alone out there. We thought we were just, it was just us in these tunnels. Basically, they dropped this bomb, and then they basically like, we're gonna go check it out, and that's kind of it. And then like they like get distracted from checking it out because of all this random shit that happens to them. Your wife gets sick. You run into the cannibals. Like it's other order of that, but like you almost forget about like the biggest reveal of the game because it's just like random shit keeps happening to you. So I didn't love that. And I guess the similar story complaint is that they just completely forgot about the aliens. Like you spend all of Metro Last Light building up the aliens with this really cool story, and then we just said, whoopsie. Like, forget about those for a second. Which at first it was fine. It was like, forget about those. We have a new big bombshell to drop. That the fact that you've been stuck in this metro for however many years, like, government made it up. But then they forget about that one too. So I thought the storytelling, I thought was, maybe that's a good way to put it. The storytelling was good, but the story they were telling was not good. So I really wanted to like it. I really enjoyed playing the game, but when I was thinking about it, I was like, I feel like they really dropped the ball on some of the story stuff. So really fun game, enjoyable game, but as you reflect on it and think about like, what am I actually doing? It gets kind of lost. So number 4, Black Mesa. First, kind of a cool title screen, I thought. But Black Mesa at number 4, I really liked this one. The meeting old Gordon was really cool, and just kind of seeing, like, it's just a day at work that goes so freaking sideways, and so much shit happens. It was supposed to be a normal day. I feel like you really learn what's happening alongside of Gordon, like as it's happening. It's like it feels like just very real time information. It's not like it's just holy shit, there's a portal and we let aliens in. Like there's no like there's a million questions about like, did we know aliens existed? How did they get in? What can they do? And you sort of like just discover this along with them. There's no real backstory to it. It's just like all chaos breaks loose, which is exactly what I feel like would happen in that kind of situation. So it's just like, shit, we got to survive, and then we can figure all that stuff out. So I kind of liked how it sort of drops you in, but the story kind of like builds around with it, and then it ends up being a really interesting. Just it's a hell of a day at the office. Just real stressful day that you sort of peel back the mystery as you go, but really just insanity kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat throughout. Along those same lines, I thought the world building was really cool. How it establishes Black Mesa through kind of your day job. Obviously, they're into some sketchy shit. They talk, as you go to the alien world, it kind of works through that and what that might be. So really, like, organically builds it. It doesn't tell it to you. You don't read it. It just sort of happens around you, which I thought was really cool. Um, what I didn't love about it is we had a pretty annoying bug with it, where anytime we loaded into a new area, whatever button I was pressing kept repeating. So whether I was walking in a direction, shooting, that was really annoying. Um, and the age of the game really showed. Like I know this is a remaster, but it's still very old even for a remaster. So there's some really clunky parts that were a little annoying to deal with, especially on some of the puzzly type sections. But honestly, really enjoyed this one, and it was the start of a really cool series to come. Three, the bronze medal game, number three, Halo Infinity, just because it rhymes with three. Halo Infinite, kind of combining the single player and the multiplayer into this. The gameplay was awesome. Specifically the grappling hook. Like I know they added a lot of features, but the grappling hook I think was by far the best one. Just kind of completely changed the way you got around, opened the map vertically, and made for some really cool plays. Especially with the exploding barrels too. So I think the grappling hook it's something small, but I think it was like a huge addition that made this game unique from previous Halos, and a ton of fun. The open world, I think, once again, was I want to say a home run. It was like a double off the wall. It was good. It wasn't perfect, but there weren't too many like control tower type things where go to this area and do the thing and then unlocks the all the objectives in the area. Like they had that, but there wasn't like 20 of them to do. I thought there was a reasonable amount. In fact, I was kind of surprised when I got the achievement for doing all of them. I thought there would be more. So, open world, it was good. They didn't fall into too many of the classic tropes. And then the multiplayer was a lot of fun. Grappling hook, things like that. The new guns that were added. I thought there actually is a lot of innovation on the gun front. Unlike Halo 5, there was a lot of gun innovation here, which made the single player and multiplayer fun. And I think it was a really good experience overall. What I didn't like about it, I thought the story was pretty good. I thought I didn't think we solved much. You know, like I feel like we prevented a complete and full takeover of this planet. But Cortana is still a problem. We have a whole new species of people that are a problem. That we only got teased with. We didn't really get a full introduction to the new species of people. We took down some of the brutes, but the way that they had like such a like stranglehold on the planet doesn't make me think that, or the Halo ring, I guess, doesn't make me think that they're going away. Like, I feel like someone else could just take the guy's place, and since Atriox is like died a hero, like, and he's like a god to the people now. Like the brutes will always be a problem. So like we didn't really solve the brute problem. We didn't solve the Cortana problem, and there's a new race of people that's even worse that we haven't dealt with. So like this is probably the start of a trilogy. So I think there was a lot of introduction that happened, which isn't always the most satisfying because we didn't actually clean that much up. Um, the open world, I will say, got a little repetitive. Not in terms of the control towers, but I feel like you start to learn your favorite way to kind of approach something. Right, you get a scorpion, you get kind of whatever guns you want, and so there's no feeling of like I got to use what I have. It's just I can start every mission with the exact loadout I want. And so I feel like it gets a little repetitive because I feel like you kind of, not that you like min max it, but if you can if you can start a mission with the tank, start a mission with the tank. Like I feel like there's a way to approach it. And then on the multiplayer side of things, it didn't launch with Forge, and actually it took like a year for Forge to come out, which I thought was really interesting. And I know that there's a group of people who that's like their favorite part of Halo by far, and the custom games that have come from that have like inspired like full like consistent game modes, and I think it's a huge part of the Halo community that they took a year to put in. I'm not a huge forger, and now that people they've put it in the game, people have like taken it off and done crazy things with it. So I think it's kind of a miss that they didn't have it at first. Or was it a smart move to not include it? Because now there's probably like a once Forge came out, there was like another bump in Halo popularity. I'm sure it was a pro move. Maybe they're playing chess, not checkers. But I thought it was a little disappointed to kind of hold back on a feature. I thought so. The silver medal game number 2, Demon Souls. I spent the most amount of time with this game out of any game. I got the platinum trophy, even though it was incredibly difficult and time consuming. So Demon Souls felt like the natural choice for number 1. But the more I thought about it, the more it felt like Demon Souls just couldn't be my favorite game of the year. So let me talk to you why. The action in this game is super fun. The fighting through the areas is incredibly fun. It looks freaking beautiful. It's the PS5 at its finest, and it was this game was damn near a PS5 like demo. Plus the fighting, the actions is good as always. And I like that you can do a variety of builds. I mean, I played through the game once just basically as this guy here, sword and shield, and then I did a full, like, not full, but a magic build the next time through. And they were both super viable. So the fact that there was some variety in that was really cool, especially in a game that's as old as this. I really struggled to give this game the number 1 spot when it's not even close to the best game in the series. And that, I struggled with that. And so what gets me about this one is, so with all FromSoft games, the story sucked. All right, let's be honest. There's a little bit of story, a tiny bit. Most, allegedly a bunch is buried on, in the description of different swords and boots. I'm not a big fan. It's just not a big fan of the story. I get that the game was about the areas, but the runbacks to bosses were so freaking long, and I get that. I like bosses more than the areas. I think that I don't think I'm in the minority there, that once you cleared an area, once you really work it through, like, it's time to face the biggest challenge of the area, and that's the boss. I don't want to have to rebeat the level every time I want to go to the boss. And they put a lot of narrow corridors in so that running past, like, in subsequent games, like, they make running back, even if it's long, they make running possible. This game is actually, like, really hard to run back, like, just to try to run through people. Actually really, really hard to do. And it was long on top of that, so not a fan of that. And then the bosses themselves. So you beat this whole area. It's super long. You get to the boss, and so many of the bosses, it was just like a gimmick. It was like very few of the bosses were like, let me see how good I am and beat this guy. It was so much of it was like, what's the trick to beating the boss? Like, there's the one who can't see, so you just put the thieves ring on, and it's basically a free win. There's the one with the thing in his stomach that, like, he's incredibly easy. He's supposed to be like the 4th boss. He is the 4th boss of the game. You hit him, and he just, like, you basically, there's a stealth boss. There's so many. It's just like, what's the trick? Not like, how do I be better? How do I get good? How do I be better than this boss? It's just like, okay, what's the trick? So I thought the bosses weren't that satisfying, and that combined with how much of a slog it was to get back to them, got really, really old. And I think I really, like, Dark Souls 1 is better about it. Dark Souls 3 is better about it. and from everything I've heard, Bloodborne's better about it, and so are the other games from everything I've heard. So, like, I get that this was their first pancake, and it's remastered, um, but like the core gameplay mechanic is the same. So I really struggled that was. Sometimes it was a pain in the ass, and not in like a fun way. Um, that sounds real interesting. But one thing I did like is the uh, how you could go to any of the 5 worlds right off the bat and kind of complete them at any pace. I thought that was really, really cool. So, like, I don't know, 8.5, 9 out of 10. But I thought it was really fun, but it just wasn't quite. There were a lot of flaws in it. It had, like, on the surface, shiny, beautiful, fun. I played it a ton, but at the end of the day, it was like there's actually a lot that's kind of wrong with this. Number one, your gold medal game of 2022 is Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2, really good stuff. The characters were awesome. Every kind of side character you meet along the way is really, really fun to interact with. Really, really fun to talk to. There was a lot of variety in the gameplay. From the car missions, their little go-kart missions, I guess I would say. It kind of felt, the boat mission. It almost felt open world, but wasn't. Or I guess this one wasn't the cart. It was the boat, but had a way of feeling like you could go a bunch of different directions, but also like very much guiding you into one direction. So it was. I thought the gameplay was handled really nicely, and they switched it up to keep it really interesting. And then it continues on that world building that really started in Half-Life 1 / Black Mesa, where you're really trying to understand more about the aliens and more. I guess maybe not more about the aliens, but more about the company that's involved with this. And yeah, there's enough twists and turns to keep you really interested. You basically you learn something, you deal with it, you fight through it, and then it's all it's time to learn something new and create new controversy over and over again. The real knock I had on it was that I thought the story ended up in a really good spot, but up until you get to like the CEO's office and the shit hits the fan, up until then the story is kind of weak. Like, you basically your teleporter malfunctions, sends you to the wrong place, and it's just like it's kind of just about getting back, like I feel like it's for like the first 3/4 of the story you actually don't. You're just trying to figure out what the heck happened, where you are, and how do you get back to your friends, which is interesting, but like not super related to the game, I feel like. Then once you get like into the facility, you start to learn about the aliens. You start to see how they're produced. They're hybrids. You start to learn about the like alien overlord and his interaction with the CEO. And then you have Mossman and Eli fighting. Like, it becomes really, really cool. But like for the first like 50 to 75%, it's really fun to play. But it's like, wait, what are we doing? Like, why are we doing this? Like, or I get the why, I guess. It's like teleporter malfunction and we got to get back to where we were. But it's like, that seems kind of pointless. And then obviously it comes in strong at the end. So, I found myself, it seemed there wasn't a lot of motivation at the first part of the game. So it picks up really hot and heavy at the end. But for the first half, I'll say Half-Life, if you will. It's very it's very confusing what you're up to and why this part of the game is when you hopped in, So anyway, that's our list for the year. Congratulations to our winners. Oh God, it's so mediocre.